So I'm back to show you part 2 of my travel album. It's taken me a while to get here, but I finally finished the second portion of this. If you haven't seen part 1, check out that video. This is my trip that I took from Eugene, Oregon, where I attended Story Camp, to San Francisco. And in the first part of my video, I showed a little bit about Story Camp and the first part of my album, and I finally finished up San Francisco. In my first video, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with my title page, and I finally figured it out. I ended up using one of the 3x4 cards that came in Allie's travel collection that says, "This adventure will remain in my mind and heart forever," because I just thought that was really true, especially for this trip. And so I stamped the dates on here, I stitched it on one of these transparencies, and then just put one of the die cuts that we got from the kit in here. So like I said, you have seen all of this. If you haven't had a chance to check out the first video, definitely look at that. But I'm going to start with San Francisco. So to kind of break apart the two parts of this trip, I put in these little bookmarks, which I showed you the Eugene one. I'll show you again. This was an idea that I got from the product play class that I took, which if you haven't had a chance to take this class, I highly recommend it. So I ended up just stamping with StazOn Eugene, Oregon, and this kind of serves as a bookmark for this part of the trip, and then the dates that I was in Eugene, and then I did the same thing for San Francisco. So I'll show you a little bit of that when I get to that part. But just to kind of start off, this was a road trip. We ended up picking up a car in Eugene and then driving down the coast. So I put in here the map of the route we took. I like that it has the final destination and the miles we took, and so I did start and finish, and then journaled a little bit about the trip. I ended up printing a lot of big photos, which I think look really beautiful in the album. Lots of stories about the road trip and where we stopped at. This was probably one of the most beautiful drives I've ever taken. It's something I'm not used to, being from Nebraska, and so I ended up including, just lots of pictures of where we stopped throughout the trip, and included those and the stories with those. One stop that we made was in Fern Canyon, which was one of the places that they filmed Jurassic Park 2, and we did a lot of hiking in there, so that was a really fun kind of pit stop to talk about what we did there and just how breathtakingly beautiful it was. I did include a variety of 3x8 page protectors. I had a lot of these left over from Week in the Life this year. I did this size. So this was the sunset of us driving to San Francisco. And I included a lot of my favorite road trip moments. So things we talked about in the car, stops we made, things like that. This paper, I think I posted about it on Instagram, but I have saved this paper for, I don't know, like 8 years, 10 years maybe, and I knew like at one point I would find the perfect project to use this paper, and I finally did, because it says San Francisco. So I trimmed down this 12x12 paper to be 6x8, and then I used watercolor to highlight that, and I had this taxi thing. I'm not sure where I got that. But then this shows, then we're in San Francisco. So here's my second bookmark. Again, StazOn ink on transparencies, and I put a tab at the top and the dates that we were in San Francisco. This is a picture of our hotel lobby, which I just thought was really, really beautiful. Probably one of the coolest hotel lobbies I've ever been in. So made that a full page picture. This is a picture from our bathroom. So this was the wallpaper in the bathroom. It was a really cool hotel. It's called Hotel Zeppelin. And so the wallpaper in the bathrooms was super cool, and it had all famous singers and bands. So I did a lot of kind of journaling about the hotel. We put a lot of research into it. So here I saved the hotel room key, and I put a little tab at the top of that so you could pull that out. And then a little bit about kind of some of the stuff in the hotel and more about our room. 6x8 photo of us just walking the streets of San Francisco. This was our trip to the Muir Woods, where we did a lot of hiking. So here I used most of the adventure kit, story kit that was from a few months ago. And this worked really well for this adventure. Golden Gate Bridge. I loved the words that came in that kit. So we had wander, roam, and go. I used another one of those in here. A little bit about Haight-Ashbury, one of our favorite brunch places we went to. This was a really fun idea I also got from the product play class. So this actually flips up and has a little bit of a different size page protector here. So this is actually 3x12. I had some extra 9x12 page protectors, and I trimmed that down and then folded that over like this so you could flip that up. And this is really, really special to me because we visited San Francisco 10 years ago. So here's the exact same picture in front of this rainbow mural from '08 of us, me and Mark together. And then 10 years later, almost the exact same photo. So I thought that was a really cool memory to include in there. And I did some journaling about the neighborhood. I printed another 6x8 photo of the painted ladies and stamped on there with StazOn ink. Another idea I got from the product play class was to print a map of the town. So I printed, I just found this on Google and printed this out, and then pretty much put all the spots down here that were the highlights of the trip. So places we ate, things we went and did, certain districts that we went and visited, a lot of stuff that down by the pier. And then I had these letters, I'm not sure where I got these, maybe a past Studio Calico kit, and I stitched that on. And I thought that was really fun to like kind of just see the layout of the town. Obviously, a trip highlight was being able to go to the Color Factory. So I spent a lot of time on this spread. I think this was a digital card that I had from the Fun story kit for Ali Edwards. So I journaled a little bit about how much I loved the Color Factory and how this was a trip highlight for me. And then using the small grid page protector, I was able to include a lot of photos. I obviously took a ton of photos here. I couldn't include them all, but I kind of picked out some of my favorites and put those in here and repeated that on the back too. I saved a lot of memorabilia from the trip. So this was this was the coaster that the macaroons came on. I grabbed a couple of those and put those in there, and I like, again, you know, I like that that's a see-through element. You can see all of the different colors from here. I included a map that I got. So this was where you could see all of the different spots in San Francisco that related to a Color Factory. So I just put that in here. I had lots of Instax photos that I took, and in my first video I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with these, but I think this was a kind of a cool idea. So I took a 6x8 page protector, and I had all of these photos. So what I did is I adhered the photos back to back, and then using my sewing machine I just stitched at the top, and then I added a few stickers. These were from the Adventure Story Kit. These were from maybe Light Story Kit. So again, I like this see-through element, and I think that's a good way to display the Instax photos. So my trip highlight was a Color Factory. Mark's trip highlight was seeing an NBA game. So in this envelope here, I included the story of going to the Warriors versus the Spurs playoff game. So I did a little bit of journaling here, and then I included just a couple of the photos from there, which I think turned out really cute. So it's super simple. I didn't add a lot. You know, I put a couple of things on here, but mainly I just wanted to make sure that I had that story documented, and I put the date on here with my mega date stamp, and I stitched a star on there. Just a different way to kind of house a really special story from that part of the trip. On this day, we went down to Pier 33 and 39, Fisherman's Wharf, so talking about the breakfast we got and the Irish coffee we got at the Buena Vista Cafe and seeing the sea lions. And then a little bit about Alcatraz. So then that afternoon, we took a boat to Alcatraz Island, and so I journaled a little bit about our trip there. Again, here's another 3x8 photo using one of those words from the Adventure Story Kit. So I put Rome up there, and then one of the chipboard pieces. You know, I almost worked exclusively just from the travel main kit that I got. Of course, I pulled in elements, you know, from story kits and things like that, but you know, a lot of this was just made with the travel kit. I saved our Alcatraz tickets and I put another Instax in there. This is similar to what I did for Voodoo Doughnut. So I saved a bag from Voodoo Doughnut and journaled about some of the donuts we had there. I did the same thing for this. So this is Mr. Holmes Bakery. I thought this bag was really funny because it says free range pastry. And I like this photo. It was a really fun bakery. So I added just a couple of photos there and a little bit of stamping. Like the other one, I did another one of these 3x12 flip up pockets. So this was from when we were in the Castro district. Like most of the streets were these beautiful like rainbows. And so I had this card that says Follow the Rainbow from, oh, this must have been a Studio Calico Project Life kit. So I journaled a little bit about how beautiful this district was and how everything was so colorful. And then I did this flip pocket here. So I printed a 3x12 photo and then cut those to fit in the pockets. And then the Go, again, is from the Adventure Kit. And then using StazOn ink, I stamped, this was an alphabet set we got in the Type Story Kit. I stamped Castro District around that. And I thought that turned out really cute. And then this is a little bit about our last meal in San Francisco in the Mission District, having super yummy tacos and queso and margaritas. I put this in here. This was just something I made at Story Camp. Here's a layout I made at Story Camp as well. I don't know if I'll keep these in here. I might put these maybe in my story album. I'm not really sure yet, but for now they're just gonna live here. I also saved all of the notes that I took. We did so many writing workshops at Story Camp, so I kept all of that. And then even though this made my album really, really thick, as you can see there's a lot in here, there were some things that I didn't end up using from the trip, and you know, that's okay. Like I think Allie talks about, you don't have to use every single thing. You might have leftover things, and what's great about her kits is that you can use these as a folder to keep some of that extra memorabilia. So here were things I didn't use. I ended up journaling for most of the trip because there was just so much stuff I didn't want to forget. So I wanted to include that in here because it had some of my stuff, and then there's some notes and different things that I wanted to keep. So I put that in here. Now this is the bigger size. So she switched. The previous kits were in this size, and this would have worked, but I had some taller things like my boarding pass that I wanted to have in here. So the newer size worked really well for this, what we've had for the past couple of months. So again, I just put some things in there and photo or paper clipped it. Again, my album is super full, but I mean, this was a big trip and I had a lot to document, and I told a lot of stories. I wanted to include a lot because this was just a really, really special trip for me. So that's a look at my album. Thank you so much for watching.